Welcome to Technology for Humans, tech through the eyes of its leaders. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm joined today by AndyCroll. Andy, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I hate getting people's names wrong, and I do it from time to time. I'm in the habit of asking how to pronounce it first, and I forgot. So thank you. Andy, there's a number of things we want to discuss today, a number of things we want to go over. But first of all, tell us about CoverageBook. Tell us about what you do and how you got started.
Right. Well, started at CoverageBook, had recently, I've been working at a startup in London called Housetrip, which I refer to our time there as we crashed the plane into the runway. So they failed to raise like a big Series C, and then the mission then became, okay, let's try and get stable. And then they sold off the parts to a larger travel company, and we all got some nice redundancy, and then that was finished. And then I bounced off a job really hard. I got to like week 3 or 4, and like I've been brought in to sort of like be the VP engineering and sort of grow the team. And when I arrived, that was not what the team thought I had been brought in to be. And, you know, some of my suggestions, like maybe we could do PRs, maybe we could review each other's code. Can someone help me with this? I bounced off that team really hard, and to the point where I called the CTO and was like, oh, okay, so I'm not sure. I was ready to have my I'm not sure this is working conversation. And he opened with, I'm not sure this is working. I was like, cool, good. We're on the same page. So yeah. And so I was basically pulled into CoverageBook as a contracting gig. Had some success in terms of the business, but the tech stack was creaking quite hard. It was a fairly inexperienced team at the time in terms of sort of we do some quite interesting stuff in terms of like pulling data from lots of APIs and doing some web crawling and things like that. And it was not scaling well. So I joined on initially 2 days a week and then 3 days a week. And then after only 18 months, they offered me a proper job.
Right.
So now I've been there 8 years. So CoverageBook software for the PR industry.
Right. Yeah.
If
and
you're
the CTO now, right?
I am the CTO. Yeah. That was eventually was graced with that title, which sounds very grand, but there's only 13 of us in the entire company.
Right.
I am in charge.
You're absolutely in charge. So lead engineer / CTO.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I still get my hands somewhat dirty in the code base and reviewing PRs, and it's a very operational hands in the code kind of role for me. So yeah,
and it looks great on LinkedIn as well.
It does. I think it's it's probably added to any future salaries that I get, but I've no plans to leave or move on.
Yeah.
It's my best job ever, and honestly, given the situation at CoverageBook in terms of our mission to sort of be profitable, be successful, be a good place to work and spend your working days, like if it turns into a horrible job, it will definitely have been my fault, or certainly partially my fault. Yeah, it's nice to have the influence over the direction of the business, so it can do the sort of things that I'm interested in doing in terms of a career.
I have a viewpoint about CTOs. One is that there are not enough good CTOs in the world. Like every business that has an application at its core, which is most of them, needs a CTO that knows what they're talking about. And I find that's almost, I won't say never.
I mean, we're stuffed then.
Yeah, it's a real problem. It is a real problem because so many times, Reinteractive is a consulting agency. So I talk to lots of different businesses every day, often with legacy Rails apps. And it's very obvious to me that they are run by people who don't know what they're talking about. They don't understand development. So it's fine to bring in consultants. It's fine to hire people to do the work, but you have to understand what's happening. You have to understand how does your application hang together. And we end up with some crazy things, Andy. You would have seen some of these in your in your work.
I've probably written some of these.
Yeah. I mean, we won't talk about 0% test coverage or next to no, the out of the box test coverage. But things like the companies don't own their GitHub repos.
Yeah,
they don't have their own root access to their infrastructure. Like a developer owns it, and then that developer's moved on, 5 years ago. So no one knows how to access it. Like these things happen. It's common.
It's humans humaning though, isn't it? I mean, that's the thing. Is it's so natural. I mean, I think it's also important for someone in my role to understand the version of the role that they're playing. There's this. I am by no means running a large organization, and a CTO of a large organization is doing a very different job to me.
Sure.
But it's to know what your business is and whether your business can support a large organization. Like, I regularly have conversations with the CEO, Gary, and we're just like, if we doubled the size of the dev team, we could definitely build faster. I'm like, yeah, possibly the wrong stuff. Would it make the eventual revenue number go up? Probably not.
Right.
Possibly. I don't know.
Right.
But like to know that we are a niche inside a niche, in an industry that I didn't even, doing a job that I didn't even know that the PR industry did. So it's very important to like find your spot as well, like, and have a compatible, personality and taste for the sort of CTA you want to be, I guess. And I definitely have found that
niche. Find that niche and do that well. Like do your thing extremely well, and that's what brings the clients. I have a viewpoint that the best CTOs are former developers. I mean, I think that it should be obvious, but it's not always. Like you often find a CTO who has business acumen and has studied business, but they have their degrees, but they don't understand computer science, which is a gross misstep.
How can I get their jobs? That sounds like they're wildly overpaid for not knowing what they're doing. And I will happily be overpaid for not knowing what I'm doing. That sounds
like and you can see these people fall into these roles. Maybe they were a CFO or maybe they were a something else before, and someone said, "Oh, we need a CTO. You do that." And then the guy's like, "I don't know what to do," and he just calls a consultant who does the work, and he just checks the numbers. I guess I'm not sure. I don't know.
I see it in all sorts of organizations. Like my wife does contract HR work, and she'll often find, the person in the senior seat, whether that's the CEO or the CHRO or an head of operations or whatever it is. Like it's definitely a human trait to get those jobs and then feel like your job is to sit in the job and manage the people, but not necessarily with the expertise. Or I think if you are in a larger organization, you really have to understand what the people are doing to be able to dive in really sharply. And I think that's what you're getting at with your like having a technical background as a CTO. Is you need to be able to. I need to be able to review a PR
right,
and like
exactly.
not be bullshitted. Right?
Yeah.
It's like I sort of get the sense that. I mean, in many ways, I think the worst piece of sort of senior technologist management speak is, I just hire good people and get out of the way. I'm like, that is terrible, terrible management. Because what you then get is really, really smart developers going off and building stuff in whatever the hell they want or fancy building
run the
that
show.
week, right? And then you end up with an architecture you can't manage, because the whole point, and one of the things that we have at CoverageBook is like, we're a very Railsy shop. Increasingly wanting to be more Railsy. Like when something goes into the framework that we've got our own version of, I make a point of trying to make that a project that we get rid of our custom stuff and start using the stuff that's in the framework, because I want to make it someone else's problem. Someone smarter than me.
Right. Which is one of the beauties of Rails, is that you can pick it up and move it to another team, short period of time for them, like, hours, measured in hours, and they're up and running and delivering a feature.
Also, then no one else has to understand my particular madness. And like, the documentation that I haven't written.
Right. Right.
It's I would rather have someone be able to Google the Rails guides and
right, and get up
find
and running
me in 5 years and hunt me down in a pub or something.
Yeah. Do you have any business training, or you're just on the job training in terms of the business aspect of being a CTO?
I've always been entrepreneurial's probably a shout, I would say, but I have a strong independent streak, I would say. That's probably a better way of putting it. Out of uni, I ended up at Accenture a big consulting firm. Mm-hmm. They wanted me because I had my computer science background, and then I didn't do any computer science for 4 years before I left. I met my wife. It was a nice place to work. It was, there were some good projects, and I saw big businesses and the dysfunction inside sort of huge, banks and insurance companies and all the, the Fortune, whatever, Fortune small number companies. Yeah, and I learned a lot about humans. I ended up doing quite a lot of HR and communications work, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that really has informed some of the ways that I sort of operate in the world, I guess. We used to do stuff like, so we would come in and take over the IT department of a UK bank, and there would obviously be like all these 25-year-old consultants would rock up, and all the 50-something people who were there would be like, there would be a real mixture of reactions, actually. They would be like, thank God you're here. I've been complaining about this place for a decade. There would be, how long do I have to stay before I can leave on early retirement and get my pension? And there would be the people who fought you, and then there would be people who would be scared of you, right? So there was you get all these reactions, and we used to do a thing when I was working there where we would offer up our time to people who were transitioning, because basically we would basically buy the IT department and then sell it back to the bank, and then in 7 years they would get it back, right? Having been fixed with all of Accenture's marvelous whatevers,
right? Yeah, okay.
But we would do a thing where we would sit, and every hour we would have a half-hour meeting with anybody from the team. It was like round robin allotted to the entire team. So the whole transitional team would go in and go, here's your opportunity to speak to someone from this company with no agenda, with no like HR stuff.
Just say
whatever just an opportunity to admit to human to human. What is it like to work for Accenture? And so, there were some pretty brutal days where you'd have 8 people in a row, and you wouldn't know whether you were going to get somebody going, arms crossed, I don't want to speak to you, or you were going to get someone who was going to cry, or you were going to get someone who was like going to be aggressive. But it was, and that's really good human being training, I think. I'm interested in people. Like, that's just a thing. I run conferences. I've been involved in the wider Ruby community for a while. I've given talks. Like, I've got weird work adjacent hobbies, sort of things that I would refer to. And so and I've got a sort of a passion. We hired 4 junior developers over the last 3 years. So fresh out of boot camps, and brought them into CoverageBook in a very, what is a very small team. And I think if you asked them, they would say it was a pretty good job. So that's a thing
great.
That small companies don't tend to do.
No,
most companies, I'm going to say, rounding to all companies are bad at bringing on junior people in all walks of life, not just software, not just Rails, not just Ruby. All companies are bad at that. And it's easy to persuade yourself not to do it.
Yeah,
because
that's right.
It feels like you don't want to let anyone down. Yeah. It's fine. They'll need a lot of help. They might not be any good, or they might be really good and we do a bad job, and I'm not sure I've got enough time to mentor someone. And it just transpires that if you give a shit, you'll actually do it, and it's probably fine.
I really enjoy it. I love it. I wish I...
Yeah. It's more difficult in a consulting environment because people have to be, coming from an Accenture background, like, you've got to be billable straight away. Like, it was quite impressive how Accenture back in the day would take 50 history graduates, put them through 3 weeks of Java training, and then sell them hundreds of dollars a day into large Fortune 500 companies. I mean, that's an interesting model. But part of their thing was the constant recruitment. That was part of the model of their business. So it's a real challenge.
Did you hear, Andy, about the? I think it was. Well, maybe we'll just avoid saying the name of the company then, because in Australia there was a scandal where one of those firms had produced a report for the Australian federal government on something which was very important. I think it had to do with social funding. Very important contract. It was worth north of 400,000 Australian. And a professor at a university in New South Wales, read the report after it was issued, and he's reading it, and it quotes people that he knows personally, and he's reading it going, I don't think they said that. And then it got to an issue of a footnote that referenced a book that one of these people that he knew quite well had written, and he's like, I am certain they didn't write that book. There is no such book. And so he
Right.
goes and make things up. And
Well, I can.
Well, I shouldn't say etc. because I can't remember if it was actually there. But
you can see how humans would do that, because humans instinctively humans are lazy.
Absolutely.
And, there's certain things. I'm lazy, but I'm just quite bad at it.
And it's interesting because if
I'm lazy enough to spend all evening coding, right? Like that's how lazy I am.
Straight away. Like there's no history to it.
No, absolutely. Well, it's amazing that the professor had time to read something like that. Like,
I guess this is what professors do.
It's true. They've got an appetite for it. Of course.
I find it intriguing as
no. So it's broadly speaking, if you imagine you are a team of marketers and you do work for someone, you're either a consultancy or an in-house team, and you're trying to find out what people are saying about you, or they're reviewing your new product. A coverage book is a thing in the PR industry where they would, in the olden days, they would cut bits out of the newspaper and stick them into a book. And that was a coverage book. You would get your coverage that you had earned as a marketing agency and stick it in a book. And we do the digital version of that. So there are so many channels.
Used for? How's that used?
Effectively, it's sort of a proof. People use it for multiple things. Like we've got a surprisingly broad use case. Like there's a guy who runs a charity and he collects all of his mentions in the press from that stuff for himself and then uses it to fundraise.
Oh, okay.
But like the primary, the stereotypical use case is a consultancy doing proof of work. So like we said we were going to get 3 mentions on the BBC and we did here, here and here. And
okay.
Here's what people are saying on Blue Sky about you, or here's where you got mentioned in a Spotify episode, or whatever. So it's for, and it's very PR focused. So it's sort of news focused and social focused. So we have we get pull stuff. We don't pull stuff, and it's all, we are just the reporting part. Like there is a whole industry in the PR industry in the PR world of big enterprisey software like Cision and Meltwater and what have you that do like the difficult job of tracking and looking for mentions and monitoring and all that stuff. We're post that. We're in the reporting stage. We're the storytelling that the practitioners do to sort of prove their work and prove their value, I suppose. We're APIs, lots of screenshots, lots of managing of data. Reports are really good looking. They make you look professional. It's kind of like every SaaS tool, every B2B SaaS tool, we're somewhat replacing PowerPoint and we're somewhat replacing a spreadsheet, right?
Okay.
So like that's the world in which I'm playing. It's like better than a spreadsheet for this tool, better than PowerPoint for this tool. We take decisions away from
the
people.
Traditional Excel.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine going, in your monthly meeting, you've done a load of marketing for someone. They go, and here's our mention on, in the Guardian. Let's, that we reckon that got this many views from your actual humans. And some PR agencies are more sophisticated. They'll be trying to do attribution and tracking as well as, there's whole facets to the industry that, I've discovered over the last 8 years that we do our best to support with a small team. But, we've got nearly 3,000 customers around the world. Yeah. So primarily UK, US, Australia a little bit. And we also had another product that we sold that we spun up as in our spare time called Answer the Public, which we sold to an agency in the US. So like multiple Rails projects over the years.
You mentioned that you're a very Rails house. Are there some aspects of the application or of the tech stack that are not on Rails?
Not now. Well, we the odd thing where we will buy in functionality, we could of course build ourselves. So we've got supplier. We have a supplier that we use for screenshots. Like that's not something we necessarily want to build.
Sure.
And we have had things where we've used sort of simple serverless functions for certain things. But we've tried to keep that as small and contained as possible. The infrastructure of our actual app has been, for the longest time, 2 apps. So it's 2 big monolithic apps that talk to each other over a very narrow API.
Okay.
Where we can accidentally DLS
Rails
ourselves.
Yeah.
Both Rails apps, yeah. One customer facing and one data collection. And actually one of the projects we're doing at the moment is moving the data collection back into the main app.
Right.
So,
Something I see a lot of at Reactive is Rails, but then with a React front end.
God no.
And it's like it probably seemed like a good idea for those businesses at that time. You would have seen similar things, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, JavaScript developers were cheaper, and that's what businesses saw. They thought this will be quicker and cheaper. JavaScript developers are cheaper. Facebook use React, and they're really successful. It's like, yeah, that's not why Facebook is successful. But okay, cool, you do you.
And you're not Facebook either.
Yeah, and also, yes, you're not. So yeah, like I think the React front end thing, I personally have never gelled with it. So whilst I'm in charge, like in that respect, what I say goes. But it's also like it's another tech stack. You have to run another team, and then you're it's hard enough integrating technology when you're on one stack, let alone two stacks in one app. Like that feels painful to me.
The end result is once the application's built is to upgrade to maintain. You inevitably can't have one developer. Like, the React developers that I have in-house are, they obviously know some Rails, and the Rails developers know some React. But if you want to do things properly and fully, you need two developers every time, and it's annoying. It also adds overhead with upgrades. You have to upgrade React when you're upgrading Rails. So, it's not a cheaper option at all.
No, it always, to me, I'm also a bit of a purist. When I came into technology after my Accenture time, I came in through the web standards front end, CSS and HTML route. And so I just have a fundamental feeling, and it's probably not any more qualified than that, but you're just putting forms on a website at the end of the day. Like, how hard can it be? And the more technology you put in the way, the slower that is to happen. And I was an early adopter of smartphones, and it's always been just like the more you're doing on the device, the more difficult it is to predict how it's going to behave.
Right.
And you still get like every single mobile phone provider has a terrible app that is clearly a horrible React thing stuck inside an app shell. It's running on some, probably, let's face it, it's Perl or something in the background that they haven't upgraded, and they've just wrapped it in React, and now it's just really slow. And still in the international city of Brighton, in which I live, there are spots where I cannot connect to the internet over the wireless. I'm just like, what's going on? Like,
how can this be possible?
How is this possible? If this is possible in my city, then God forbid the countryside, God forbid somewhere where it's a bit slower just in general. So like I'm just a big fan of shipping an HTML page over the wire without trying to ship a sort of a runtime environment over the wire.
Yeah.
And then depend on them having the fastest phone to run it in. I mean, it's bad enough that most designers work on a 5K monitor and barely change the size of the window, let alone trying to ship JavaScript to someone.
And you're absolutely right.
Ship JavaScript over a tiny pipe to someone's phone is
right. And they're inevitably not thinking about
the only thing that will ruin an internet connection is trying to have a video call with someone. So like, we're doing that now.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I used to use, when I was probably, I don't do full-time development anymore. Like I'm mostly doing, most of my life is sales. But when I was developing, I used to use tools that would mimic different download speeds, and I think they've gone out of fashion. I don't see people using those anymore.
I think the really good front end folks still use them, but like there's so much. Oh, we just use React on the front end. I'm just like, and there's definitely use cases for it. There's like very specific use cases. It's about knowing what if I was running a multi-threaded chat app, I wouldn't try and build it in Rails necessarily. Like that's just not what the technology is suitable. But the sort of things that I am building and the sort of things that lots of us are building are. Why not? Like, I'm not trying to build Google Docs or Google Sheets. I'm trying to put forms on a website for a business to take rubbish work out of their day. So I can do that by shipping them HTML pages.
Yeah. Let's talk about innovation with our products. Often I see legacy Rails apps, and people want to add features to those that make them feel like they're modernizing or adding features that they think users will need, but they have a fully formed product that is already being used and is already monetized. Do they need to add more features in order to get more clients, or are there other things they should be doing?
I mean, that's the most, I can give the most senior developer answer to that, which is obviously it depends. But
yes,
in terms of, this is the battle that we constantly have, right? We have a small team. We do well. We provide value in the world. Lots of our customers love us. Obviously, a small section we don't serve very well. Some people rock up and don't like what we do. But like we've made a 10-year-old business based on this one fundamental thing of this CoverageBook creation thing, and we have rebuilt the whole thing. So we rebuilt. We changed the engine and the doors and the shell of the car whilst it was driving along. We did that about 4 years ago. We sort of rebuilt a second version, and we made different mistakes this time.
Okay.
So that was nice. And we are constantly adding to the product, but it's not. It comes down to the sort of the fundamentals, right? Like for us, like no one is going to be annoyed if the site serves more platforms as they come out, right? So like we've added LinkedIn, we've added Spotify, we've added, and no one's going to be annoyed. It's kind of like the famous Jeff Bezos thing. It's like no one's going to complain when your Amazon parcel arrives faster or cheaper.
Right.
We're a business tool. Like our primary thing is we save people time and make them look good. And like as long as we keep doing that, that's cool. There's certainly things that we can do, and we can try and lead our industry to certain behaviors that we think are good. Like there's a habit inside the PR industry of taking the audiences for things and just adding them together and presenting that as like a reach number.
Okay.
And we fundamentally, I don't really agree with that. And there's another one which is built on top of that sort of number. They call it AVE, which is advertising value equivalent. It's the idea that if you earn PR, it has a monetary value similar to advertising.
Right.
And it's sort of frowned upon by the smart people in PR, but lots of people use it and are afraid to stop using it. But we don't provide it in our, because the formula for it is embarrassingly simple. It's like audience divided by a certain percentage times 3. And I'm just like, that is the most made up number of made up numbers.
Right. And
if you're adding audiences together, it doesn't make sense either. So we try and do things where we discourage people from what we consider to be bad behaviors, but we're not going to ban people from using we allow people to add custom metrics, but we're not going to provide those numbers that we think are silly. And actually, if anyone actually interrogated what you're doing, you get a savvy client and goes, why is this number? Why have you said that you've earned $1 million for us? I'm just like, you definitely haven't, because we only sell $500,000 of stock every year. So you can't possibly have earned that much value. Like that's nonsense.
Right. And that guy knows if he puts $1 million into advertising, what the return on that will be. It assumes that PR and advertising are the same.
It comes from the right place, right? It comes from the right place. It comes from understanding the value of marketing, right? There is absolutely a value in PR.
Of course.
But you can't sort of juice it. You can't pretend it's something it isn't. And sometimes it's not going to work. That's the other thing about it's the same with advertising, right? You don't know primarily, like attribution is like the great unsolved problem of the internet that funds the whole internet. So like it's like fascinating. It's just like allegedly we can definitely Google is Google and Facebook is Facebook, and they are advertising businesses based entirely on attribution that is at best 50% accurate.
A lot of guesswork involved.
So, why is PR any less valuable? But so in terms of innovation in our product, we're always looking at new ways to do things. But again, we have a limited team. And that's what we want to do with our lives, is have a small focus group of people working together, building something they can be proud of. So whilst I have our speculative future planning board is hilarious. It's like, if we built that, and I was like, well, I could put 5 developers on that tomorrow. Now, I don't have the budget for 5 developers because our business is only so big, and we're not VC backed. We're not, we're privately owned and somewhat staff owned. So you
have to demonstrate you have to demonstrate that a new feature is going to either get new clients on board or retain clients that would otherwise have churned.
Yeah, and that's that's the classic battle of SaaS business. It's and we're not in a business we provide a really good service, but we're not naturally a business that has what they call net positive. What's it called? Where your customers naturally grow. So like you see, the classic one-person startup is a mailing list provider. Because what happens is MailChimp got enormous and then loads of people followed it. And so you've got like the ConvertKits of this world and you've got the button downs of this world. And like there's always a space underneath where one person can set up a mailing list software and do a really great job. And those businesses are great. Yeah. Those businesses are great because they naturally grow because the charging metric is the number of people on your list. So there's a natural growth to their business. Like there is not a natural growth to every. We serve agencies typically, and agencies tend to be quite bumpy, and it's feast and famine. So some quarters they're really busy and they're getting loads of coverage. Some quarters they've got a client who doesn't want to pay for CoverageBooks. They don't want the reporting. They just want them to do the work. And sometimes agencies go away. So there's a certain amount of, a large portion of our client base, we're not in control of their usage. And even the big in-house teams, like the massive brands that we have who use our software, they can just go, do you know what? We could just not do that for a bit.
Of course. Yeah.
Or they only use a fraction of the product. And like, so when it comes to it, they're not interested. So like, it's very difficult for me to persuade myself that this new thing is definitely the future. I'm a natural cynic as well. So like, I'm British. Like I somewhat don't believe anything. So like, I can have my enthusiastic days where I'm like, this feature is definitely going to, add 10% to our conversion rate. And like, we're so small, it's very difficult to measure. Like we're not a giant e-commerce business. And those are the only ones really where you can measure A/B testing in any reasonable length of time. So, when I was working at House Trip, we were able to do good attribution and good A/B testing of features. But like, it's very difficult at a 3,000 person B2B SaaS level to do A/B testing properly because you just don't have the volume. So, and you don't have, there's no parallel team building other stuff. So like we have to pick quite carefully what we do. And that comes down to Gary's knowledge of the industry and my knowledge of the customers. We all used to do support, like our support function are really great. And they give us feedback from, the most interesting things the customer said every day. We get like a digest of that. So that we're constantly listening to the existing customer base whilst also looking at the industry and trying to work out what to do next. So yeah, there's no one size fits all. And I wish I knew because then I could pick the right stuff and then the number would go up and it would make me happy. But sometimes the number stays where it is and that's also fine.
Yeah.
Because we're profitable.
Do you ship out like a fast POC of something? Yeah. Or do you try to get a polished product? That's the only way we work. Yeah, we own like... So it's quite funny, like even the developers feel like the feedback within the team is often, we only ever ship a version 1 of something. And I'm like, yeah, because if a version 1 really hits, then we'll definitely ship a version 2. But the version 1s are all released to 5 or 6 people going, it's quite difficult to get happy customers to talk to you. Like angry customers will definitely get in touch. Absolutely. Yeah.
Happy customers are just like, oh, cool. Yeah. About time you did that. Or, oh, that's nice. Or yeah, I'll get around to using that in 6 months when I'm next doing a Facebook campaign or a LinkedIn campaign or whatever, right? Like you can't force customers to use the new features that you've given them. And you can't change it too quickly because we know exactly and that's also the work is like constantly working on your onboarding. And then sometimes that's not even a product thing. That's not even a technology thing. That's a customer success thing. That's like, are our onboarding emails any good? Yes, they were 2 years ago, but are they good now? Are we hitting enough win-back emails? Like there's so much to a software business that isn't just the building of the software. And I've sort of got the learned humility of that, I think. Is that, so I don't believe I can feature my way out, which is also why I don't campaign for like 5 more developers. And also like that's more humans in my life and I don't need that.
Yeah, because there's always the question of if I was to word this better, like, you've got a page, let's say it's a sign-up page.
Yeah.
If I was to word it better, if I was to change the layout just slightly, would that improve things? Like, these are the sorts of questions to ask.
Yeah. And invariably the answer is no, because humans don't read.
Okay, if I was to remove text from this page, would
just
it convert?
One big flashing button say, pay $99 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny. There is definitely it's axiomatic that a client, for me, will want more features than they have budget for or need for. Like, is the requirement's not there, the budget's not there, but they want the feature nonetheless. And sometimes I have to talk people out of building things because it's not necessary, or they don't understand that it's necessary. Happens more so with startups, happens more so with somebody who's got a great idea for something, which is, they've got some startup idea, which is usually a good idea, and they'll want that built. But in the process of planning that out and workshopping it, they start adding features. Let's do this as well. Let's do that. And, Uber does this and Facebook does that. So let's, why can't we do that? Well, because they've got 500 developers developing around the clock. That's why.
Yeah.
And you can't afford that. And you don't need it because your clients aren't going to pay you more money because you've got that feature.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it's the paradox of it. Like you're somewhat dependent on the whims of the market, right? You have to sort of like, again, it's about knowing the business that you're in. Like, is CoverageBook a $500 million business? No. Is it a $100 million business? Probably not with just this product. Is it a $50 million business? Probably not. Is it a $20 million? Could be. But like how we get there from where we are now is like, that's a real challenge.
You have to
like
own the market.
I don't know. It's not clear how big the market is or how much usage people get or how much value. Like we have, our customer base goes from, our low end plan is like $99 a month. And we have customers who are paying us orders of magnitude more than that on custom plans. Like we've moved more into like high usage enterprise customers, a handful of them, because they just really love the tool for it. I'm surprised that it works for them because we haven't specifically built features to enable that level of usage other than it scales way better than it used to when I first joined. But like, yeah, it's just like, are there many more of those big enterprise customers? Are we, do they have to grow into that? There's not like big RFPs out there for coverage reporting tools.
Right.
But we also know that agencies and companies spend loads of money on like decisions in the meltwaters. Like they spend tens of thousands of dollars a month on those things.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's no other way to get that information that they believe they need. So yeah, there's other products we could launch within our umbrella, but like I don't necessarily want to build those products at the moment. Like, I'm never say no. Like, because like that would just, it's quite funny. My other half sometimes goes, "You're a bit bored at work," and I'm like, "Yeah, sort of a bit. Like it's always challenging, and there's always stuff to do, and stresses and good days and bad days. But like, all I would do if I went to a job that was very stressful, everything was on fire, growing like the clappers, all I would do is try and turn it into this job. Like I'd try and turn it into,
that's the ideal.
I would try and turn it into a calm organization where we worked 4 days a week and everyone who worked there was a good human and I liked them. And we were sustainable and profitable. That's what I instinctively want to do. So like, even if you put me in like a 7-day a week, working 12-hour days, horrendous work environment, I would try and turn it into this. So yeah, I don't know. It's like, maybe I lack imagination or I only have one set of skills, but it's this particular set of skills. So maybe it's fine.
Yeah, I went through a period when I was developing, when I was just working for myself, where I would every week build something or do something that I've never done before, solve a problem that I've never solved before, use a technology that I've never used before. And it was extremely, like, it was educational. It worked well, but it didn't serve my clients any better. It spent a lot of my time and it was fine. But end of the day, there was a lot of things that I did there at that time that were just unnecessary, like I didn't need the Mongo database,
But that's a hobby, right? That's like taking
it becomes a hobby. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's just that's the thing. Like lots of developers lots of developers get into it because they like the power that being able to control the machine gives them to scale themselves. And they're also, they love the cycle of, I have no idea how to do this. Oh, I think I know. Oh, I definitely know. I'll fix this. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely fixed it. Oh, no, actually, no, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
here's the
I'm
new
going to fix
problem.
this. I'm an absolute genius. No, I'm an idiot. And now I've done it. Cool. Like that whole that cycle is something that developers love, and we, like, for good or bad. Like it's our version of crack, right? Like that's kind of like it's the addiction that drives us all. And I think that bleeds into long days and that sort of hobbyist technology thing. And then the addiction to, like, there's definitely an addiction to learning to be a developer. Like I think that's kind of a really it's a healthy trait that you have to keep a bloody good eye on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're speaking to a man who's been running a conference for a decade because he accidentally started it. So it's,
what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the conferences, because I love, one of the things that I love in our community, talking about Ruby, is that people do things selflessly. They do things because it's for the betterment of that community. And you definitely do that. So tell me about the conferences.
Well, I started initially incredibly selfishly. So I moved back. So I was living in Singapore. Actually, no, to be fair, the first one. So I was living in Singapore and I lived there for 6 years. And during that time, so I was there 2007 to 2013. So it was sort of the first rise of Rails and Ruby as a production language, the beginnings of GitHub and all that sort of stuff. And so I said at the meetup, we should have a conference because all these local conferences are in the US and I can't get to them. And they were like, yeah, you should do that, Andy. And so I emailed Matt's, and Matt's emailed back and said, yes, he'd love to attend. And so I had to do a conference. And so I ran that for 2 years. And then when I returned to the UK, I didn't know anyone. Like my whole network, in terms of my professional network, was in Singapore. So I didn't know anyone in the UK. And so I started a conference, when my twin kids were like a year old, which is a very bad move. But and then I just kept doing it because people kept coming. Like in the same way that like my focus on a CoverageBook is like being profitable, making sure it's sustainable, doing what needs doing, but not much more than that. That's how come I can keep running a conference year after year. Like I haven't ever lost money. It's got a bit close a couple of years. But like I know people who have gone to do conferences and aren't as parsimonious as I am, and get themselves in real financial trouble. But I've never done that. Like most years, it buys me something nice afterwards. But like it's never, and I'm in my conference, I pay the speakers a stipend. I cover their travel. Okay. So I've flown, I've flown folks in from Australia. I've flown folks in from the US. Obviously, sponsors help out and people's employers often help out. And that's really great because it means that I can charge less for the tickets. But the whole point of the way that I do Brighton Ruby is it's sustainable, it's small, it's very handmade, even though it's now nearly 500 people every year.
It's amazing.
I have a really great venue that helps me do a conference of that scale, which is, tough. But yeah, and so I think that speakers deserve to be taken care of. So I help them out beforehand with their talk prep, and I'll do multiple revisions of their talks in the months and weeks leading up, and then they'll generally get, depending on how good a year it is, they'll get a stipend afterwards. Just it's not actually paying for their time because it never does. But it's an acknowledgement. But it's like they can take their spouse out for a fancy meal that otherwise they wouldn't probably pay for out of their own pocket, because I'm just like, no, go and do something with this money. Or if they can't, for whatever reason, their employment contract prohibits it or something, then they can give it to charity. I just donate to charity. Sure. On their behalf. Yeah. So it's the conference is like, and now it feels almost like service. Like people like it. It's become an annual event in the UK. People come every year or every other year or whenever they can. And it's just a place to meet a room full of folks who understand what you do for a living. Yeah, which is the great thing about conferences. Quite nice. Yeah. Yeah. And I think in a post-COVID, more people working from home world, our industry was more remote friendly than many were before. But I think increasingly the fully remote thing, we are all primates and we do like to meet other primates and see their faces in 3D. Like, I don't have a Vision Pro, but like that's still not going to be any, anywhere near as good as going to a pub with a bunch of Rubyists who I like, right? Like that's just not going to do it. That's not going to cut it. So like, I think there's a celebratory and getting out of the house thing for the conferences, which I think is, and that is also kind of a Rubyish thing. I think Ruby as a community brings slightly odd people, idiosyncratic maybe. Like there is a surprising amount of ex-drama school kids in the Ruby community. There is a surprising amount of theatre kids or ex-musicians or like people with odd hobbies where you just go, oh, okay, there's a whole other side to you that I had no idea.
And I love finding those things out. Like, isn't it great?
Like, like my friend Jamie is like, does enormously long, like multi-kilometer swims for fun. I'm just like, well, I mean, I don't understand it, but like, good for him, right? That's cool. So
this is the thing. I agree with you completely, and I find that when I go to conferences, I attend conferences either as a sponsor or just as an individual. There's never a lack of people to talk to. Like, I never can get to enough people in the room because I always intend to talk to as many people as possible, and I can never do that. And you always have the best conversations. You have great, interesting, thoughtful conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's not true of every conference. Like, I go to other types of conferences. I go to Salesforce conferences, for example. And it's not always the same. With those, you're always like, when you're talking to someone or someone approaches you, it's always with the viewpoint of what business am I going to get done? Like, there's always the thought of how am I going to turn this into something profitable?
Yeah. The interesting thing is that like the less transactionally you approach these things and the more karmically you approach them, the better off you end up being. Like, it's surprising the number of times, like 5 or 6 years. And like, because I run a conference, like it's a bit weird for me. So like often people go, hi, Andy, because obviously I spend a good part of the day on the stage saying, hello, I'm Andy. So people know who I am at Brighton. Uh-huh. And so people will come and go, they'll come over and go, oh, we met at Brighton Ruby. I'm like, that's cool. I do not remember those days at all. I apologize. But like, it's surprising how often they turn into stuff like
of course,
co-workers or it'll be someone who I worked with 10 years ago will attend a Brighton Ruby and I'll be like, oh my God, it's you. Hi, great to see you. Right. And we've all moved on in our careers. Right. And for me, it's also like, because I have organized conferences, like I've, including in like helping out with the RailsConf in the US and stuff, like there's also an even weirder network of people who organize Ruby conferences. So I have like another like little group of like the super weirdos who like, just like, do you know what I'm doing in my spare time?
Yeah.
I'm going to pack swag.
Yeah. What spare time? I was talking to Jim Remsick of Flagrant. And he doesn't
he's running multiple conferences over multiple weekends. I mean, I genuinely
he's crazy.
don't know how he's doing that.
And he's like totally calm about it.
He's a very calm man. He's just like quite zen. When you chat to him, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're calm about this. But I saw that and I was like, okay, that is a baller move. Like 4 conferences in like 4 weekends or whatever it is. That's madness.
Yeah. Well, and when I spoke to him, he was about to launch into it. Like it was about to start. And I'm literally like, why are you sitting here talking to me? There must be 1,000 things to do.
Shouldn't you be somewhere in a room screaming to yourself?
Yeah. Or panicking about not having enough sponsors or something.
Yeah, I mean, that madness.
How do you get sponsors? What's your method?
Relentless, dogged doing the conference every year and making it good.
Okay, so like, do people approach you? Do companies approach you?
Yeah, typically. And I have regular sponsors who, I'm also fortunate in that there's a couple of smaller conferences in the UK that have been and gone or, they'll run every 2 years or something. But like, because I'm relentlessly doing the conference and there are big enough Rails shops, like, so the Gov UK, lots of the Gov UK stuff runs on Rails. And there's other big Ruby shops in the UK who are, always hiring. Shopify's always had like a bunch of Rubyists and like the big international companies, the big international Rails on Ruby shops have often hired in the UK. and like there's a bunch of European folks come over variously, So yeah, I haven't ever struggled. Some years have been better than others. If I get, but it's also like I design the conference so that if I only get 2 main sponsors, I can still put it on. It's just there won't be videos.
Right.
Like,
okay.
I just like I do in my day job. Like if I don't have the budget, I just cut the scope.
You just cut it out. Sure.
Because like that's not the thing that's important. The thing that's important, the venue is the most expensive thing, and increasingly so every year.
Okay. Like a good venue or a venue that holds enough.
It's a great venue in town. Like they host musical events and like they're a big cultural. They run the Brighton Festival every year. Like the venue owns the Brighton Festival, which runs for a month in the year every year. 400 nerds is the least scary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have to check everyone's bag, and I'm like, "There's only laptops in there, and they're like, "Yeah, I know, but we have to check everyone's bag anyway." So yeah, like so I have this venue who are really great, and as long as I can cover the venue costs and the costs to make it financially neutral for speakers to come, then I'll keep doing it. So
yeah, great. What advice would you give to someone? Let's say someone listening to this, let's say in Australia, wants to put on a Ruby conference. What would you say to them?
Don't do that.
Don't be so silly.
It's really hard. You have to be constitutionally suited to it. It's like knowing yourself. Like, are you the sort of person who's going to stress out? Are you going to? You have to it's like everything. You have to focus on the important stuff that people are going to care about. Like, get the content right, get the venue right. Don't do food. No one cares about conference food. No one cares. If you're doing it in the right place, you'll be close enough to nice restaurants that people want to go out and have smaller meetings anyway. Like no one wants a terrible tray of conference food. The
sandwiches.
And then, like bad sandwiches. Who wants bad sandwiches? Particularly when, Brighton. When Brighton's really good, really great food. So like I just send people out and it's problem solved. Also gives you a break. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you just have to not lose money. Because you put so much effort and love into it that you can't also then get stuffed on the back. Like it's a much different conversation with your spouse to go, that thing I spent all those months doing. Also, it meant minus £10,000. Like you just can't, as a non-professional person doing this, like professional conferences have different goals. It's also like work out what the smallest version of your event is. Like, what's the 5-person version? What's the 30-person version?
What's the MVP?
Yeah, it's like, can you run it for 30 people? Because if you run it for 30 people, you could probably round up 30 people to come to anything. Like, so like that's the other piece of advice I've given over and over again. So just
like start
work
small,
out what you can
scale.
And just like, if you like it, then you can do it again next year. That's the benefit of conferences. People will always ask you, even if you look absolutely wrecked on the day, doing it next year? So like that's if you want to make it bigger, you can. But then also, you're sort of dependent on the whims. Like, Brighton's great for travel. Like, Gatwick Airport's like half an hour away. So I can get people here.
Yeah.
And London is less than an hour on the train. So like there is a huge, servable market for my small conference. Yeah. But again, that's I've been doing it for 10 years. Like, I think Brighton Ruby has a decent name in our community. Like people know about it. Like, so like, and that's me being relentless at doing the things that I think it's about. So I don't know what to tell you. Like I just keep doing it. Just keep swimming.
It's an intriguing thing. Like our conferences in our community are like what keeps us and holds us together. So the people that put them on are central to Ruby.
Yeah. All right. I'll take central. That sounds all right.
Yeah. I feel like there's lots we could keep talking about. We probably won't. Maybe we'll do this again another time.
No, I'd love to.
Is there anything though that you want to say before we end? Like, sometimes people start a podcast thinking I'm going to talk about this thing and I never ask the question. Is there anything for you?
Not really. I just think for me, the thing that's always been good is that if I ever thought there was something that needed to happen or be in the world, I've just gone and done it. Because you don't have to ask permission, and like no one's going to give you permission. Like nobody is an adult, but that also means that you don't have to be either. So like, or if you're going to be the adult, then you can be the adult, and people will suddenly like give you you'll get accidental credibility. I mean, that's the whole Brian Ruby thing. It's like entirely accidental credibility. It's just like, I didn't know the first conference I ran in Singapore, I had no idea what I was doing. Absolutely no idea. And you learn on the job, right? It's the same,
Right.
everyone takes production down. Everyone breaks CI. Everyone accidentally deletes something from a production database when they didn't mean to. Like, it's the same with companies.
Messes up the branch. That's right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, everyone gets themselves in the Git mess. Like, that's, but that's fine. Like, you just grit your teeth and keep going.
Right.
That's
right.
kind of
and
like,
then we're better. You learn something from it, and you're better at
and like,
the other side.
and I'm a person who likes to make stuff. Like, I did the conference. I did the mentoring program thing. I sell T-shirts. I always want to start a T-shirt. I always want to start a T-shirt business, and so I finally got around to it. But 5 years ago, I was looking at how to buy a T-shirt printing machine in a garage, and now you can do drop shipping not drop shipping. It's like print on demand stuff. So I have a print on demand T-shirt shop for Rubyyists.
Wow.
Like Ruby T-shirts, because I wanted to make them, because I wanted to make them. So I just did.
You will have to. Can you send me the link? I'll make sure it's in the show notes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But these are just and I've got I built a one pager for Rails date time things that I can never remember. Like, you can just make things,
right?
And it's fine. And you just put them on the internet, and people will find them, and you can yell about them, and you tell people about them, and they'll tell you it's cool, or they'll completely ignore you. But that's also fine. Like, you have to enjoy the making of it, and you put the things in the world you want to exist in the world.
Right,
no one else can do it for you.
Yeah, and it's okay to do that for yourself.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree completely. When is the next Brighton Ruby conference?
I am a little bit behind this year, so it's in June. It's always in late June, so it's a Thursday in late June, 25th, I think, next year. I'm not even sure if I've put, because I do need to put tickets on sale soon, actually. So you have reminded me. I've still got the old day on the website, so I need to, I have to look at my own website to tell you, to work out what I've been doing. I do need to do that, but it is next year, and people should definitely come.
Well, do you have X? People can keep an eye on you, or Blue Sky? Where do you?
I'm basically AndyCroll on all the things.
Okay.
I am still on X, but not really responding. There's more yelling. That's more yelling into the void. And then I'm on Blue Sky, and I'm also on the Ruby Social Mastodon. But I'm not super social focused. I mostly just yell about the stuff that I'm doing every now and then when I remember. When I remember to do marketing, I do. That's what I use it.
All right, and then obviously, when you start selling, it'll get into newsletters, the Ruby Weekly and the.
I would hope so. I'll certainly be pestering the folks who run those newsletters, and I'll be yelling about that on social media. And Brian Ruby on all the things as well. So Yeah.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Thank you very much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure. And let's do this again.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you.